Kelton Hatch joining us in studio this hour. He is joining us from Idaho Fish and Game, and he does this on a monthly basis. 7 minutes after 9 o'clock, 38 at our studios. This is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And Kelton, first of all, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, the last time you were here, I think the weather was warmer, but...
Yeah, well, it was earlier in the year, so, I just figure, I don't know. It's just been crazy the last few days.
When it was snowing the other morning, everyone was running outside taking pictures.
Yeah.
Now, April snow is not unusual, but
No.
we had such a mild period that...
We just didn't have winter this year. And, it's just been so mild. My daughter, she's at school down in Logan, and they had 7 inches of snow. And that's more snow than they've had all winter. And so, it's kind of, it's nice to get some moisture. I wish we'd have got a little more stick to and a little more moisture, maybe a little less cold.
In fact, the snowpack wasn't very high in some of the mountains this year.
No, you get in the South Hills. I mean, that's been one of the complaints we receive. The Forest Service manages, and the BLM manages the land in the state of Idaho, but a lot of people are upset because they want to be riding around on their ATVs or up checking out the South Hills, but typically we've got moisture on the ground, and so they keep those roads closed till the end of this month in order to keep the roads from getting tore up, and animals are congregated in certain areas, so they're trying to keep a lot of pressure off of them until they kind of distribute. But this year it warmed up so early. Yeah, people are having a rough time staying out of the hills right now because it's so nice.
And the other thing is, too, though, from some of the populations, especially some of these herds, because they didn't have to dig through a lot of snow, you didn't have a lot of starvation this year.
No, we're anticipating just record numbers of deer. The last 3 years have just been really mild winters. We've got tremendous fawn survival. Last year, we almost had 100 fawns per 100% fawn survival. So people kind of understand this. I mean, you typically, when you have 100 does, they'll give birth to around 140 to 150 fawns. Well, we had almost 100 fawns per 100 does last year. The year before was around 80. And so anything over 45 or 50 fawns per 100 does is a really growing population. And so, yeah, we're anticipating a lot of critters out there this year.
No talk yet about an expanded season or anything like that.
No, not at this point. We'll monitor it closely. I think we'll just see higher harvest success, for the permits that are out there.
Sure. Well, that means a lot of sweet venison on a lot of tables.
You betcha. Yeah.
You wanted to mention trophy applications today.
It is. A lot of people don't. Just so, if you want to put in for mountain goat, moose, or bighorn sheep, application period's going on right now. That's going to cost a person roughly $178, I think it is, dollars to apply for those. But they're cool hunts. I've had the opportunity. It took me 14 years to draw my bighorn sheep permit, but it's a lot of fun to get out there. However, if you apply for those permits, you can't apply for deer, elk, or antelope. And so it's just trophy species or the other species of animals. That goes till the end of the month. And then we have the deer, elk, and antelope applications that start the 1st of May and go to June 5th. And so everything's coming right down to that, we're getting ready for fall. And so you need to get your hunter education classes done right now, because if you want to apply for those hunts, you have to have your hunter education done also.
We were talking a few weeks ago about some surveys when you were here, I think, in the past couple of times, in fact, you were in studio with us. You're doing some bird surveys right now, too. In fact.
Oh, we are, yeah. My wife thinks I'm crazy because right now what we're doing is we're doing let counts. And so at about 5:30 in the morning, you get up, you head to the desert, and you go check out these areas where sage-grouse are lekking. And to let people understand what a lek is, it's a breeding ground. Have you ever seen sage-grouse breed? The breeding dancers or any of that?
I've seen a couple of pictures of it, yeah.
Pictures of it. It's pretty cool because in the spring we survey roughly 500 to 600 leks in just the Magic Valley. And so everybody has a lek route, and you get up and you go out and you count the number of birds or males that are displaying or doing the dance, trying to entice the gals to come over and say hi. You go out and count the number of males on these leks. And it's been really kind of interesting this year. some of the leks that I've counted for 3 or 4 years. This route that I'm doing right now, and I'm actually seeing really good numbers in the sage-grouse on some of those leks. Like the other day, I counted. Typically get between 9 and 11, and there was actually 27 males on that. However, when I went up the road about 4 or 5 miles to look at my next lek, it was down a little bit. And so I think they kind of like bar hopping. They just go from lek to lek to lek. And so they're checking out different leks to see if there's any different gals hanging around. But it's pretty interesting. Along with that, we also do we check the nests. And a lot of people don't understand how we find a sage-grouse nest. But in the middle of the winter, we go out and we have big speakers that we tape to the front of the pickup, and then we turn on some Led Zeppelin or Van Halen or some really loud music, and then we have a person sitting in the seat in the back of the truck with a big spotlight. And we drive these backcountry roads, these desert roads, with a pair of binoculars when it's 10 degrees or 10 below zero, and you just glass until you see the eye glint of the birds in the sagebrush. And then we have 2 guys or gals that are sitting on the tailgate of the truck with big long nets, and then we start driving towards those eyes, and we try to net that sage-grouse, and we put a radio collar on them. Then we find out which lek that they're attending, and then we can locate them because we know the time of year birds are nesting. Then we can go back in with the radio telemetry gear and locate that bird to see what their chick survival is. And the last couple of years, we've had really good survival. Our first bird that we have radio collared, we've got probably 100 plus birds in the Magic Valley radio collared. Well, probably more than that because there's about 50 at Brown's Bench down by Salmon Falls Creek Reservoir, and then we've got a bunch over by Castle Rocks and some up there by Craters of the Moon. But we'll go out and we'll check to see what chick survival is. It's kind of interesting. Then we also have a little itty bitty antenna or tracking device that we'll actually put to some of the chicks and just glue it on their back, and it stays on for a couple of weeks to kind of see what's depredating on them. And so you'd actually get kind of a kick. We need to give you a call, Bill, and have you go out there. You can go play rock and roll music all night.
9:14. Our guest is Kelton Hatch. He is here from Idaho Fish and Game, 39 at our studios. That's the thing, though, I wondered about. When you play the music, wouldn't it be easier just to sneak up on them, or does the music confuse them?
Well, there's so much noise, they don't know where the predator's coming from because you got the big spotlight that's blinding them, and then you try to overwhelm the whole area with noise so that they can't get a direction. And so basically the bird will just crouch down and hide because it just doesn't know which way to fly, whether it's going to fly into danger or be able to get away. And so it's I don't know, it's kind of bizarre. I think people, if you ran upon one of our rigs in the desert at night, you'd think was just completely loco.
Yes. We have a telephone caller with us, and we want to mention you're on the air on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Our guest is Kelton Hatch, and you're joined by Bill Colley as well. What's on your mind?
I want to thank the Fish and Game for the youth hunt for the kids that Access Yes south of Twin. We experienced a young man, got his first pheasant, cradled in his arms. Boy, he was as proud as anybody you've ever seen, got his first rooster. He was just his first hunt out, was able to get a rooster, and he was so proud of himself. And Idaho Fish and Game is so good about helping these young men and women being able to learn the right way to hunt and having a place to hunt a pheasant. This Access Yes for kids.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I want to throw a shout out to some of the helpers. We get a ton of help from like the Pointing Dog Club. We've got some landowners that really step up and allow us to run these programs. And then we get just a lot of volunteers, but we do appreciate that. Those youth hunts are fun. We have youth waterfowl hunts, youth pheasant hunts, youth deer hunts, and then we're trying to run a bunch of clinics this summer because it seems like some of our youth are they get too Nintendoed, or well, it's not Nintendo. My kids say it's what is it? PS something, PS3 or
That's the
PS4.
big one now, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we're actually one beyond PlayStation or two systems. But they got gaming systems, and they're kind of falling away from this. But I do appreciate the thanks because it's one of those programs we really feel is important.
Yeah, you're losing me because I was of the Pong generation, and it just...
Yeah, I told my kids about, we had this game called Pong, and then Duck Hunter was on some of the fancy Pong stations, and had a pistol, and you could shoot the ducks, but it was just, I can't play these games. It makes me dizzy.
Really?
Oh yeah, my kids haven't won, and it's like
See, I don't have binocular vision, so I haven't bothered in years anyway.
Yeah, and so there's too much, and then it makes me really nervous. I can't deal with it at all. We try to sit down during maybe a Christmas break and play a game or something with them. And it's like, I'm done with this. But
see, I've gone from video games to baseball, where the action is slowed down so much that, the old joke, and now the pitcher is checking his shoelaces.
Yeah.
Now he's looking at the grass.
Yep.
At my age, it's much easier.
Yep, I agree.
We've got a lot more coming up while you're here this morning, and in fact, I'm looking at the list. We'll be talking a little turkey, bear hunting too as well. You were mentioning monitoring the nests, some spring fishing. Now that one is going to get some attention too as well, because there will be some runoff this year, maybe not as much as in previous years, and that's going to have some impact too, I'm sure.
You bet.
And we get to trout in the classroom. I got to ask you what that is in a couple of minutes, because they're going to school. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, we're trying to make them smarter.
They've been well schooled already throughout their lives. But we'll have some details on some of these things coming up in just a few minutes. Of course, I also want to point out, if you have a question or comment for Kelton this morning while he's in the studio, feel free to give us a shout as well. We have a break coming up in just a moment, but you can always call us right after that at 736 0300, 736 0300. Before we go to the break, your website, great resource that you've got there. What is that?
Well, thank you. It's fishandgame.idaho.gov, and we're going to be changing it up a little bit here. We're going to try to have regional blog pages on there for people to be able to post things. We also have a YouTube channel, and we have Twitter accounts out there trying to keep, like when fishing's going really good, we'll send out a tweet saying, hey, this is what they're catching out here at this lake, and so need to get on those.
We've got more coming up. Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game in studio with us. 20 minutes after 9 o'clock, 39-hour temperature. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com with Bill Colley. Oh, yeah, this is really exciting music. We went from Thank God I'm a Country Boy to Mozart.
Yeah. You're a little eclectic.
Kelton Hatch in studio with us from Idaho Fish and Game. 924, 40 at our studios. This is News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Bill Colley with you as well. You wanted to mention a couple of things about hunter education.
You bet. Hunter education this year has just been going like crazy because we reduce the age for big game hunting. Youth can start hunting big game at the age of 10, and so we threw 2 more years of kids into this hunter ed pool. Right now is the time to get that hunter ed class. If you're thinking of putting your child in, or if you've got an older person that would like to put in for controlled hunts this year, right now is the time. Last week we had 6 hunter ed classes going last week alone, and there's a bunch more coming online every day. If you're looking to get that hunter ed class, get it done now. Otherwise, you probably will not be able to put in for your controlled hunts, because we really push classes right now. And just go to fishandgame.idaho.gov, click on the hunter ed logo, and it will show you all the classes that we have in the Magic Valley, and surrounding area, because we have classes clear from Buell to Glens Ferry, or not Buell, Burley to Glens Ferry, and up to, Sun Valley all the way down to Rogerson. So get on there and get those classes taken care of now.
Good idea, too, because what you learn there, you should be able to hold the rest of your life.
Oh, you betcha. I mean, it's, parents have often asked me, well, I don't know for sure my kid's going to even hunt, but I'd say, hey, I'd still have them go through a hunter ed class, because you live in Idaho and your kid's going to run into a gun at some point. I don't care whether your family's a hunting family or not. There's enough people that still hunt and fish in this area that they will, and it's good to have that safety class so that they know how to handle firearms.
We have a caller with us, and you're on the air next with Kelton Hatch from Fish and Game on News Radio 1310 KLIX.
Yeah, Kelton, I had a question on the trophy hunts. I'm interested in putting in for moose. You say you can't draw on the big game hunts. Can you put in on the second chance opportunities?
You can, if there's second chance tags that people, folks know what a second chance tag is if you put in for a controlled hunt and after the draw, if there's still tags left over, or if people don't pick up their tags before the date, we put those tags back on a lottery or another draw, and you can apply for the second chance tags. Another thing I wanted to mention on that, a lot of people, the miss is like if last year you drew a buck or a bull tag, you have to set out 1 year before you can apply for a buck or a bull tag again. If it's an either sex tag, you can put in for the same tag or a bull permit or a buck permit. But yes, you can pick those. You can apply on the second chances if you put in for a trophy. Good question.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, speaking of hunting, a couple of seasons you wanted to mention as well, turkey and bear.
Turkey and bear is going right now, bud. It's going right now. I had some friends that they went up north, and their two boys were able to shoot 2 turkeys each. Great hunt. They left Thursday night, got up there, harvested their first turkey Friday, and got up the next morning, shot another turkey on Saturday morning. Once you get up past Lewiston, a lot of that country's two turkey units, true turkey tag units, and in the fall you can kill up to 5 up in those areas. Really high production of turkeys up there. Getting too many. We're getting a lot of depredation complaints and things, but turkey's going. And bear season opened on the 15th, the general bear season. I'm actually headed out next weekend. A lot of fun just to get out, even if you don't harvest a bear. I love eating bear meat. Don't get me wrong. I love hunting bear and I love eating the bear, but it's just really, really nice just to get out and do some hiking in those mountains in the spring. Flowers are coming up, and it's just, it's just a really nice time of year to be out.
When you're hunting bear, though, you do it generally in groups, right?
No, usually by myself,
Really?
I'm going to be taking my son up with me, and all we do is we hike to the top of a hill and sit down with a pair of binoculars and glass right at the snow line. Because those bears, what they're going to do is they're going to follow the green up the side of the mountain. And they're eating onions and wild onions and all the flowering plants that are popping up right now, right below the snow line. And so, they're fun to hunt. They're really, really good table fare. I know people think that you sound crazy when you're saying that, but no, bear roasts are excellent. I don't like bear as well in the fall. Because they've got so much fat in them. I like I've eaten fall bear, but a lot of times I like to grill it to get all the fat out of it and all that extra grease. If I make it into stew, a lot of times I'll fry it, put it in the stew pot, cook it, let the stew pot, the crock pot cool off, and scrape the layer of fat off, and then rewarm it and eat it, because bear meat, just because of the cellular size of the fat in bear meat, because they hibernate, and so they can really pack a lot of fat into their meat. Marbling is way beyond that of beef and bear, and so but spring bear that's quite lean, and it's really good.
I was going to say, if they eat enough onions, it reminds me a lot of the ham and leek dinners or the venison and leek dinners we went to as kids.
Oh, you bet.
You get both flavors in one.
You get both flavors in one, yeah. So, but no, turkey hunting's going on, so it's time to get out there.
We've got more with Kelton Hatch coming up from Idaho Fish and Game in just a couple of minutes. It's 9:30, 40 at our studios. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com with Bill Colley. Our guest in the studio this hour, Kelton Hatch. He is here from Idaho Fish and Game, joining us on a monthly basis from Idaho Fish and Game, we should point out. And in fact, if you've got a question or comment for him while he's in studio, he's available to handle that too as well. You could reach us at 736-0300. That is 736-0300. You're listening to Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com with Bill Colley. You got quite a bit more you wanted to mention about a couple of things here. Spring fishing. Now, I haven't done a lot of fishing since my adult years. I used to do it all the time as a kid. Used to do it, I think I told you once, on a daily basis. But for people who love fishing, this is a great time of year.
Oh, it is. It's phenomenal, and things are just kicking off right now. And it's like you was talking a little bit ago about call us. I love getting calls, and if you've got a fishing report or something like that, yeah, I would love to hear how the fishing's been going for you also. But we were joking about during the break about Easter break, spring break, how it was fence fixing time for you. Well, that's the way it is for me. My kids, they think that spring break is like torture week, and so I did take a day off with them and drug them down to go to Salmon Falls Creek during spring break, and the fishing was fabulous. The rainbow trout, it's really spotty because that day I talked to quite a few people, and it was about 50-50 of them had a really good day, and the other 50% had, but we were actually catching a few walleye that week, and the rainbow trout was just tremendous right then. And I don't know what this little cold snap's going to do to it, but it was really turning on, and I would anticipate within the next week, if we can get back to some decent springtime temperatures, the walleye fishing should really start kicking off. Is getting really close to their spawn. I know that the perch over at CJ Strike has been tremendous pre-storm. And so it should come back on, and we're really anticipating a good crappie year over there this year. And Magic Reservoir, it's going to run a little bit later just because of the elevation that it's at, but we're anticipating a good fish on that in the spring. That's one thing about around here. Even though we don't have a ton of snow in a lot of the mountains, we still have enough that the runoff in the streams and the rivers is still pretty muddy. And so I don't anticipate stream fishing being much good for another 3 or 4 weeks, but...
You were mentioning, some people having success and some not, and I can remember this from when I was a kid. We would be doing something like dock fishing, for instance, and you'd see a guy at one dock, he'd be 100 feet away, he'd be pulling everything in, and you'd be on the dock next to him, and you wouldn't be picking anything up. And it just generally, I guess, is related to how fish sort of congregate together, right?
It is, and it's just, it's part of the luck. I mean, there's some anglers that catch fish all the time just because they're very skilled at it. I'm not. I'm out fishing and I'm relaxing, so I toss a night crawler in there, put my feet up, and kind of kick back and enjoy the sun. I'm a fair weather fisherman. I'm not a big time fisherman in heavy rain unless it's I like fly fishing when you got some hatches going off, but boat fishing, it's kind of nice just to get out there and just enjoy the day and look at the sights.
I used to get impatient fly fishing, but if I was doing some trawling, just going down the lake in the boat, with hanging the pole out, I was fine with that. I could just putter around, and it didn't bother me whatsoever. And it was a good way to spend an early morning. But when I was fly fishing with my stepfather years ago, I remember I used to just get so dang frustrated with that.
Yeah, well, you anticipate a little bit more, but I don't know. It's just all fun, and I don't know. It's just about getting out of the house. Even though we didn't have that bad a winter, these nice spring days are just awesome because everything's just so alive right now and smells fresh, and it looks really good. It's nice to be outside.
We have a caller with us, and you're on the air with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game on News Radio 1310 KLIX.
Yes, sir. I want to hit the pelicans again. I called. I was told that in the 70s by a fish and game guy that they would give a box of shells, which is probably a couple bucks, for a dead pelican, that they were allowed to shoot them, but I think that's always been a federally protected bird. But when I was a kid back in the 40s, a long time ago, I never saw a pelican. I mean, they just weren't in here, and I do not understand why we can't shoot them. I'd like him to address what happens if we're caught shooting one.
It's very similar to bald eagles and golden eagles, because back in the 60s and 70s, they also used to shoot them. And I mean, when you look at some of the Chuck O'Connor and some of these other hunters that are fairly famous from that era, you'll actually see pictures of them holding golden eagles or bald eagles and things like that. Things just have changed. A lot of these birds, they're federally protected. It's a federal offense. I don't know exactly what the punishment is on that. We do conduct a study on pelicans, and we do know that they have impacts on certain areas on our fisheries, and it's a concern between pelicans and cormorants and and I know a lot of our private hatcheries are having issues with cormorants as well as pelicans, and so we try to trap and wing tag these birds to try to get documentation on how far they're traveling, where they're traveling to. We do have one area in eastern Idaho that we do have control actions going on, and that is over by the Blackfoot Reservoir, and I can talk to you a little bit about this maybe later, I guess. Okay. Well, that's probably about it.
We've got to also talk a little bit about trout in the classroom and a little bit more fishing news as well on the way. Kelton Hatch with us, and he's going to be with us through the next segment as well. So please stick around if you've got a comment or question too.
We appreciate the call.
Yeah, the great call, I think. 20 minutes now from 10 o'clock. Mike Huckabee coming along in about 10 minutes as well. See, this is a little bit better than Mozart.
Doodling banjos.
I love a banjo. Just the sound of it in the background. But of course, it only lasts about 30 seconds here, which is okay because Kelton has a lot more important things to talk about.
You bet.
Yeah.
Banjos. So.
Kelton Hatch joining us from Idaho Fish and Game. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. Top story with Bill Colley. So
can I say one more thing about the pelican deal?
Sure.
I'm probably not going to be able to give this gentleman any piece on the question because I'm not giving them the answer that they're looking for, and I understand that this is one of those deals that we're studying. We're trying to document impacts it's having on wildlife, and once we get those documented, it feels like sometimes it's almost too late by the time we get things documented that we do need to take action. But we are really looking at this issue closely, and if you have comments, make sure you get a hold of us at the office and give those.
Trout in the classroom. What is that?
TIC, trout in the classroom. We're trying to make fish smarter.
Yes.
No, what we do at the beginning of the year is I've got roughly 82 or 83 classrooms in the Magic Valley. It's 17 schools have fish tanks in their classroom. We bring eggs. They hatch the eggs out. We go in and we give them a habitat talk about the mission of Fish and Game. After we do that to all these classrooms, then we go back and we dissect fish with them. And then the big hoorah is we take these kids fishing in the month of May. One school's going in April and the rest are May, and got one school in June that's later, but we'll take about 1,600 kids fishing this spring. It's actually really cool because some of our classrooms we have as low as 20% of these kids that are 16 years old that have only 20% of them have been fishing. Other classes, rooms you'll get into will be around 40%. And it's kind of interesting to me, a lot of the rural schools are the lowest percentage of kids fishing, which really threw me off when we first started doing it. I've been doing the program for about been here for 12 years, and I started the first year I was here, so it's about 11 and a half years that I've been doing this program. It's really fun to see these kids get out, catch a fish, their first fish. We at these field trips, we take them out, we fillet fish, show them how to clean them, and we cook them. We've actually had parents call and say, wow, this is really cool because their kid came home with the fish that they caught from their field trip and then cooked fish for the family. And so that's my goal, is to get these kids to understand how much fun it is to get outside and catch fish. Then hopefully the parents will just carry it on and keep them fishing.
The Take Me Fishing trailer is somewhat related?
It is. It falls hand in hand with the TIC because in the summer, and I brought you this little bookmark, we've got these fishing dates, the 6th, the 13th, 17th, 20th, 24th, where we'll be going around the region. We're going to be in Fairfield. We'll be at Durkee's Lake downtown. We'll be at Castle Rocks at a new lake over by Burley. We're going to be taking our fish trailer there. I have 150 fishing poles. We're there from 8 to noon. If you don't know how to fish, if you want to be brushed up on fishing, if you don't have the gear and you want to introduce your kids to fishing, show up. You don't need a fishing license. You just come over, sign in. We'll loan you a fishing pole. We have bait. We have staff on hand to help you learn how to fish. And we have this trailer going around the region. this region all summer long. And so we go until August 1st. You can go to our Fish and Game website and get the dates that we're doing that, or if your kid's in one of those Trout in the Classroom programs, we'll be sending this home. And I was going to leave this bookmark with you.
Sure.
So if you wouldn't mind mentioning the dates when we're coming up a day or two before that we'll have these fishing events, and get your kids out and get them fishing. Enjoy. I mean, you don't move to Idaho or live in Idaho just because of everything that's going on. You got to get involved in the culture. This is the culture of Idaho. Get out, enjoy the outdoors, do some hunting and fishing.
I was up at Durkee's Lake about 3-4 weeks ago, and there were people out there fishing already, of course.
Yeah.
And just, I was up at the Magic Valley Reservoir, I think 2 weeks ago or so.
Well, you're getting out and about.
Yeah, and of course, again, saw people out there fishing. We used to call those jetties along the ocean. I don't know what you call them here, but you've got some of those fingers that extend out into the reservoir.
Yeah. Just peninsula, little pieces of the high spot.
Yeah. Well, I was going to drive down the road and hit one of those spots, but then some of the metal grates that are
cattle guards.
Yeah, they're a little difficult to drive over this time of year.
Yes.
And even though I had the 4-wheel drive, I thought better of it at the time. I thought maybe I'll wait a few more weeks and it dries out a little bit more.
You want to be really careful driving up on those dry, because every once in a while people will find a spring out there in that dry lake bed or where the bed, and then all of a sudden they can't see their axles.
Yeah.
And fortunately you don't have the ocean tide coming in to swallow your vehicle, but it is kind of a pain to get them unstuck.
I'll tell you something. We used to, when I was a kid, I remember the story that made its way around. We discovered we had quicksand not far from my hometown because the railroad was doing some work in this one area. And they came back the next day, and one of the cars was nearly gone.
Oh, yeah.
Just boom. And unfortunately, I don't think they ever were able to pull that thing back out.
Yeah. Get an underground spring in the right type of soils, and it can really swallow them up quick.
Got Mike Huckabee coming up in just a minute. But first of all, thank you. We'll see you again next month.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate the calls, and everybody get out and have some fun.
All right, Kelton Hatch joining us from Idaho Fish and Game. The Huckabee Report is brought to you exclusively by the financial advisors at Waddell & Reed in Twin Falls. The telephone number 736-6563. Thank you very much, Governor Huckabee. Of course, if you weren't with us yesterday, Governor Huckabee was pointing out that he's a short-timer. He'll be stepping down from his role doing the commentaries on the daily basis because he is going to be a presidential candidate once more. And there are some rules about that people would be demanding equal time, and all of a sudden we'd have reports from all of these candidates. And I don't know that we could very well sell the Hillary Clinton report on KLIX. That one might be a tougher sell than, let's say, Governor Huckabee. But someone will be along. Mitt Romney did this segment for a while. Mitt would be the substitute, if you recall, many, many years ago, when Paul Harvey would actually go on vacation or have a day off. Mitt would fill in. There were a number of different people who did it, but Mitt for a time was the number one fill-in, and then for a time it was Fred Thompson as well. Maybe we'll see Thompson back when they finally settle on an answer on all of that. I want to say thanks once more to somebody who makes this show possible on a daily basis. That would be Western States Bus Services, where they are hiring part-time bus drivers right now. And split shifts. They're 5 days per week, summers off, and scheduled, no school days. The pay is $10.75 per hour. You can apply today by contacting 733-8003, Western States Bus Services. It's an equal opportunity employer. And just to let you know, Rush Limbaugh coming up following news at 10 o'clock right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com, which means you can hear us anywhere all over the world online. And tomorrow is always an interesting day for me on Fridays because we seem to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to have a guest coming by tomorrow, and I just remembered it's my sister's birthday, and I didn't send her a card, and I don't think I'm going to be able to overnight one, so I'll have to tell her happy birthday on the air. Although she's teaching right now, so I guess I'll have to call her or send her a belated card or something like that. But yes, tomorrow is my sister's birthday. She still remains a year older than I am. 16 months, in fact. So I just want to remind her of that she's not getting any younger. Then again, neither am I. Tomorrow, College of Southern Idaho will have a guest coming by talking with us about some events going on there this weekend and in coming days as well. But I also want to mention I have somebody coming by from the Magic Valley Corral. Alice Anderson scheduled in studio with us. They have an event on Saturday. So it's somewhat tight for them in order to try to encourage you to come out and hear a concert this weekend. But I'd really like to make a point today that if you're going to be tuning in tomorrow and you like that type of music, I used to go listen to chorales when I was working in my last job. I had a friend who was involved, and we used to actually have symphony orchestras come in, and I saw Christmas concerts and some great things, and just love those types of events. But she's coming by tomorrow, so please put that on your calendar. She'll be here at 8:30 tomorrow morning, because she'll tell you if you're interested in getting out this weekend for that event. She's going to tell you how exactly you can do that. So please join us tomorrow. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, I get to come back and do this all over again tomorrow as well. 41 at our studios, and we're coming up on 9:58. And we'll obviously have some other things, too, to talk about tomorrow. Coming up to Fridays, and I've got to admit this, I have a stack of material that I don't get to on a daily basis, which I'd like to. And as I say, sometimes I write about it at our website, but I can't write about everything. Friday comes along, and a lot of times, after collecting all of this throughout the week, there's some great things that I never get to. Give you a good example. Did you know that the state of New Jersey, and this will likely spread nationwide, maybe I get to talk about this at length tomorrow, we'll see. The state of New Jersey, as it turns out, is tracking state workers by the state workers' own cell phones, the smartphones. So if you're working for the state and you're out doing some routine work out in the field somewhere, it's not a state cell phone they're tracking, it's your smartphone. And you think about these intrusions in privacy that people are dealing with. There you go. There's a prime example of that. And it just shows you that the reach of government is getting completely out of control. We got to do something about it. We got to do it soon. Again, Rush Limbaugh coming up in just a couple of minutes. Following news from Fox at 10 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.